Stevenson, vote Stevenson, a man you can believe in, son. From Illinois, whence Lincoln came, his leadership has won him fame. A soldier man is always bound to think in terms of battleground. But Stevenson, civilian son, will lead us till the peace is won.
Fight for Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We don't want John or Harry, let's do that big job right. Just get in step with the guy that's hep, get in step with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington. We get where we are going, travel day and night for president. Let Adelaide go the other way, we'll all go with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington, we'll take Ike to Washington.
Now is the time for all good Americans to come to the aid of their country.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but that's a doggone season that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair?
We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy, and a change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
These are the stakes to make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
There's a change that's come over America, a change that's great to see.
President Ford has restored my faith in the United States government.
Ford makes me feel like America's going in the right direction.
I'm feeling good about America, and I feel it everywhere I go. I'm feeling good about America, and I feel you ought to know.
Yes, Ford has made me feel proud to be an American. I think he's done a wonderful job for America.
I'm feeling good about America. I'm feeling good about me.
For the president, the responsibility of the office never ends. Even at the end of a long working day, there's a new piece of legislation to consider, or one more phone call to make, or another cable to read. A cable from the other side of the turning world, where the sun is shining and something is happening. It's no easy task to have a continuing good effect upon America and the whole world, but that's what this job is all about. President Carter.
There is a bear in the woods. For some people, the bear is easy to see. Others don't see it at all. Some people say the bear is tame. Others say it's vicious and dangerous. Since no one can really be sure who's right, isn't it smart to be as strong as the bear? If there is a bear.
Hold your breath when you're buried 6 feet under.
And of course, mainly, I suppose the answer is he certainly is not the kind of man that Mr. Carter paints him out to be. If I had to choose only one adjective to describe him, I would have to choose integrity. He's a man who, even if you don't agree with him, you can never question his integrity. You always know where Ronald Reagan is going to come down. Always. And that's a very nice feeling to have about a man who's leading your country. He's a kind, compassionate, strong, nice, but don't confuse being a nice man with being a weak man. He is not a weak man. Nice, but not weak.
The time is now for strong leadership. Reagan for president.
If you really care about a nuclear freeze, you should know the facts. Walter Mondale recognized the importance of the issue and took a firm, unwavering stand almost a year before Gary Hart. That took leadership. Gary Hart has shifted his position on the nuclear freeze issue 6 times in 2 years. On this issue, that's dangerous, and that's not leadership. It will take experience, knowledge, and a firm grip in dealing with the Russians to reach the nuclear freeze we all want. Mondale, solid experience. That's the difference.
At your nearby Datsun dealers.
The National Organization for Women has endorsed Walter Mondale for president. They know he's been fighting for the Equal Rights Amendment and for a nuclear freeze. They know Walter Mondale co-sponsored the Medicare Act, the Women's, Infants, and Children's Nutrition Program, and the Women's Educational Equity Act, and that he led the effort to provide federal funds for daycare. I'm Carol Bellamy. That's some record, and that's why Walter Mondale will make a great president.
Mondale, solid experience. That's the difference.
Really have to go with Mondale. The Oval Office is the last place for someone who needs on-the-job training.
I'd feel a lot more comfortable
if Monday was our president.
Gary Hart says he has a lot of new ideas. Well, I keep listening, and I don't hear any.
I know Walter Mondale understands the problems of working men and women. I don't know if Gary Hart does.
Walter Mondale's been there when we needed him.
We need Walter Mondale.
Mondale, solid experience. That's the difference.
Independent News, next.
The most awesome, powerful responsibility in the world lies in the hand that picks up this phone. The idea of an unsure, unsteady, untested hand is something to really think about. This is the issue of our times. On April 3rd, vote as if the future of the world is at stake, because it is. Mondale, this president will know what he's doing, and that's the difference.
Here in New Jersey, we're concerned about toxic waste, about our children's health and cleaning up the environment. When the Superfund legislation was stalled in the United States Congress, I turned to Walter Mondale and asked for his help. It was Walter Mondale who provided the leadership which helped pass the Superfund legislation to clean up toxic waste. I think that's the kind of leadership we need in a president. It's not enough just to care about toxic waste. With Walter Mondale, we'll know he'll get the job done.
In 1981, Reagan had a new idea about taxes. Huge tax breaks for the wealthy, but virtually nothing for middle-income people. In the Chicago debate last week, my opponent had a similar new idea. He supported an additional tax increase of up to $600 a year on the middle class. I don't think it's right, and I know it's not fair. It's time we stopped using middle-income Americans to balance the national budget.
For News 4
Control. A tough issue to tackle. Yet New Jersey already has. That's why it's important to ask the presidential candidates where they stand. Dan Rather did. Gary Hart said, I have opposed federal gun control laws. Walter Mondale favors handgun control. It's one thing to talk about the future. It's another to support laws to protect our families so they have a future. Mondale for president.
Cuomo addressed professors and students at Notre Dame University in
As governor, Michael Dukakis vetoed mandatory sentences for drug dealers. He vetoed the death penalty. His revolving door prison policy gave weekend furloughs to first-degree murderers not eligible for parole. While out, many committed other crimes like kidnapping and rape, and many are still at large. Now Michael Dukakis says he wants to do for America what he's done for Massachusetts. America can't afford that risk.
Question is, can we win? Absolutely we can win because it's your country. Question is who do you want in the White House? It's that simple. Now you got to stop letting these people tell you who to vote for. You got to stop letting these folks in the press tell you you're throwing your vote away. You got to start using your own head.
On November 3rd, don't waste your vote on traditional politicians who promise you everything to get elected. Vote for Ross Perot.
born in a little town called Hope, Arkansas, 3 months after my father died. I remember that old two-story house where I lived with my grandparents. They had very limited incomes. It was in 1963 that I went to Washington and met President Kennedy at the Boys Nation program. And I remember just thinking what an incredible country this was, that somebody like me, you know, had no money or anything, would be given the opportunity to meet the president. That's when I decided that I could really do public service because I cared so much about people. I worked my way through law school with part-time jobs, anything I could find. And after I graduated, I really didn't care about making a lot of money. I just wanted to go home and see if I could make a difference. We've worked hard in education and healthcare and to create jobs, and we've made real progress. Now it's exhilarating to me to think that as president, I could help to change all our people's lives for the better and bring hope back to the American dream.
Bonfires and broomball on town commons. A sturdy New England tradition in a state with a sturdy political tradition. The first in the nation primary. CNN will be there to bring you all.
Is the best candidate as far as I'm concerned.
I come from this part of the country. I know this part of the country. Wouldn't it be nice if we had this little group in the White House next year? We sat down and talked about agriculture. It's about the balanced budget. It's about welfare reform. It's about returning power to the states. It's about the values in America.
He understands what hard work is all about. He learned that in Russell, Kansas as he was growing up.
Bob Dole, the character and courage to lead America. Steve. He has the experience to cut government waste. But in his one government job, he allowed $276,000 tax dollars to be wasted, redecorating the residence of a friend who was his top aide. Forbes' top bureaucrats received government pay averaging $240,000 each. The press called it a gravy train. 2 federal audits sharply criticized this lavish waste of our tax dollars as improper. Steve Forbes, untested, just not ready for the job.
Malcolm Steve Forbes has a new name. Meet Malcolm the Mudslinger. This week, Forbes is attacking Lamar Alexander. Why? Alexander has the courage to tell voters the truth about the Forbes tax plan. Did you know under the Forbes plan you can't deduct your property taxes? You also lose your home mortgage interest deduction. Experts say that will cause another terrible real estate crash. Forbes even wrote a special loophole into his tax plan for millionaires. Under the Forbes plan, millionaires can live on their investments and never pay a single nickel in federal income taxes. Who makes up all that money to the Treasury? You do. That's why for many in the middle class, the Forbes plan is really a tax increase. Lamar Alexander wants to cut taxes across the board for everybody. A conservative, he kept Tennessee taxes the 5th lowest in America. The choice is clear. Malcolm the Mudslinger Forbes or Lamar Alexander, the real tax cutter.
Paid for by Alexander for president. Paid for by Alexander for president.
The most important 2 words to me are personal responsibility. If our children are not learning to read, we can read to them. If the television comes on and it's trash, we can turn it off. We should spend a lot less time thinking about what this country can do for us, or thinking about who we can blame for what's going wrong, and a lot more time accepting the consequences of our own actions.
Dick Luke.
Dick Lugar, because in Iowa, doing the right thing still means something.
I came from a small town, and you judge a man by his character. We used to do things on a handshake, and that was character. You trusted a person. I trust Dick Lugar. He's got character, and I would shake his hand and believe anything he said.
Dick Lugar, because Iowa will do the right thing for America.
There's a lot of people trying to make up their mind right now, and I think if they take a good look at Dick Lugar's help, they'll make the right decision.
I think, you know, there isn't any
And I think if they take a good look at Dick Lugar's help, they'll make the right decision.
I think, you know, there isn't any other candidates that had the kind of experience that he's got.
I'm impressed that he's a farmer and still remains a farmer. The fact that he was mayor, and I'm impressed that he joined the Navy. My heart is in the Navy.
I think that he is a good husband, good grandfather.
Some people are talking about having experience running your business and all that. He's done it second nature, you know.
Dick Lugar's a foreign policy expert. He is the most qualified person in the United States today to be president.
General Colin Powell couldn't pass Al Gore's litmus test. Neither could Norman Schwarzkopf. Schwarzkopf and Powell, the heroes of Desert Storm. Call Al Gore. Tell him the only litmus test ought to be patriotism. Ought to be patriotism.
I know one thing very clearly about the job of president. It's the only job mentioned in the Constitution where the individual who holds that job is charged with the responsibility of fighting for all of the people. Not one state, not one district, not the wealthy or the powerful or the special interests, but for all of the people, including especially those who need a voice, who need a champion, who need somebody who will lift up those who've been left behind. Those who need a voice, who need a champion, who need somebody who will lift up those who've been left behind.
When I saw my child's ultrasound, I mean, there was my tiny child's heart beating, arms waving. I remember thinking, what would she grow up to be?
If someone kills a pet, it's called a crime. If someone aborts a child, it's called a choice.
I mean, just because someone doesn't want them doesn't mean that these children aren't still alive.
I want to protect the rights of all Americans, including the unborn. But I need your support to make this happen. The rights of all Americans, including the unborn. But I need your support to make this happen.
The faces of America. They work, pay the taxes, and live by the rules. John McCain hears their voices, understands their fears, and shares their dreams.
I will not allow your Social Security money to be used for any purpose except Social Security. No ifs, ands, or excuses. It won't be easy, but being president isn't supposed to be easy.
John McCain, the character to do what's right, and the courage to fight for it.
If you are
character to do what's right, and the courage to fight for it.
If you are that hard-working middle-class family that has a wife working and a husband working, sometimes 2 jobs, you are just a couple of paychecks away from having serious economic problems, of losing your health insurance, of not being able to send your child to college, And these are real concerns of real people in the country in the midst of all this prosperity, and they have to be addressed. Now is the time to do these things that will make us a stronger nation in the 21st century.
China.
Make us a stronger nation in the 21st century.
China has stolen our military secrets and meddled in our elections. They've moved to take control of the Panama Canal, and they're building long-range missiles aimed at the U.S. I'm Gary Bauer. Sadly, Bill Clinton and even some of my Republican opponents have put foreign trade ahead of our national security. As president, I'll end business as usual with China, and if necessary, reopen our military bases in Panama to protect our interests. Please vote for me in the caucuses, January 24th.
A leader
our interests. Please vote for me in the caucuses, January 24th.
A leader learns to take the will of the people and convert it into public policy. And so I'm used to having to set an agenda. It's important to cut the rates in order to keep the economy growing. If you like what you hear, endorse my plan. Send a signal to Washington that a $480 billion tax cut over 5 years is what they want. I've been criticized in this tax plan for it being too bold. And I've been criticizing the tax plan for it to not be bold enough, which kind of says to me I'm doing all right.